When I was in Paris for my junior year abroad, a neophyte Catholic trying to find my way in a student community in the Latin Quarter, there was a movie about Jesus by the famous Italian director Paolo Pasolini. Much of the press in Europe and the local conversation at the time centered around the question, would you have followed this Jesus? Jesus was portrayed as an angry, fiery, radical, a revolutionary burning with passion and seeking confrontation. There was none of the healing, forgiving man of prayer who preached God's reign of peace and justice, who treated women with respect, who raised the dead to new life. Like many thoughtful Christians, I was confused. How to portray Jesus in film is, of course, a fascinating and difficult question, as well as how to image Jesus in art or describe him with words. The Gospels are the only source we have through which to know Jesus, and they are each unique. So we asked, who is he really, and how can we know? We might wonder if the disciples asked themselves that question. The men who had left their nets and followed him must have asked themselves on that particular day whether they had perhaps made a mistake. What was Jesus all about? There were numerous occasions on which they were awestruck by his power, moved by his teaching, and simply delighted that he could feed 5,000 people seemingly from nothing. Yet, today he is berating them, even shaming them for their lack of understanding in a manner which does not invite conversation or even a response. There again is the ultimate question of Mark's gospel. Who is he? Would you have followed this Jesus? Scholars talk about the messianic secret as a theme in Mark. Jesus repeatedly admonishes the disciples not to tell anyone after a healing or an exorcism, after the transfiguration experience, and numerous other times. Here, he is frustrated with them because they do not understand or comprehend the significance of the feedings. There is indeed a limit to his patience. Who is he? Even those who are closest to him ask themselves. He is elusive, and in the words of the scholar Daniel Harrington, the disciples will have to struggle with the mystery of the cross as an essential aspect of Jesus' identity. The real meaning of the Messiahship, cloaked during his life in mystery and controversy, will only be understood with the passion and the resurrection. Our dullness is not very different from that of the disciples. Our questions are not very different either. Who indeed is this mysterious man, so like us and yet so different? Do we like this frustrated, impatient Jesus? Would we have remained with him? We know that with the addition of the portraits of Jesus in the other Gospels, we have a fuller, richer, more varied picture. A Jesus perhaps more likable, disciples somewhat less dim. However, his mystery and their ambivalence remain. Who is he, and how can we know? And so he offers us a path. He draws us in prayer, where he speaks to us in silence, in music, in image, in our imaginations, in the scriptures. His mystery and sometimes our ambivalence remain, but we grow and come to believe in his even more mysterious love for us. As we grow in faith, we may even become comfortable with the words of Karl Rahner, Jesus is both the question and the answer. Who Who is Jesus is perhaps an unfair rhetorical question, because we, unlike the disciples, know that the story does not end, as the earliest versions of Mark's Gospel did, with everyone fleeing in fear at the angel's message. Because he was a Messiah with a different idea of the reign of God than they expected, perhaps they could not understand. So in addition to asking ourselves as we approach Lent whether we would have or indeed will follow this complicated Jesus, we might also ask ourselves, what is our idea of the reign of God, and what are we going to do about it?